All right, today we're jumping into something really different. It's this super fascinating, kind of weird numerical sequence. See, it's a system that has its own unique set of rules. It mixes logic you'd totally recognize with some stuff that, well, you almost certainly won't.
Okay, so you look at this. 88 plus 26 equals 114. And at first glance, it just seems like a simple equation, right? Maybe a little odd, but this is actually the end of a much, much stranger story. The real puzzle, the thing we're going to dig into, is how in the world we even got these numbers, the 88 and the 26 in the first place.
So, yeah, that's the big question here. How did these numbers come to be, and what are the secret rules that tie them all together? Let's get into it and start unpacking this thing one piece at a time.
Okay, first things first. Let's tackle that initial number in the equation, the 88. And right away, this is going to be our first big clue that we are definitely not playing in the world of normal, everyday math.
So, where does a number like 88 even come from? We know it's made from two 8s, but it's obviously not from adding them together because, 8 plus 8 is 16. This is our first real hint that this whole system is playing by a completely different rulebook.
Right, so forget about standard addition. That's not what's happening here. This system has a totally different plan for those two 8s.
So, instead of adding, this system uses something called concatenation. All that means is it literally just sticks things together, end to end. It takes one 8 and puts it right next to the other 8 to make 88. Super simple, right? But it's a huge shift in the rules of the game.
And there it is. That's our first big breakthrough. You see, this system isn't breaking the rules of math. It's playing a totally different game, one with its own unique but totally consistent set of rules.
And that's the key thing to get here. None of this is random. Not at all. There's a whole formal system behind the scenes with very specific rules. So let's, open up the toolbox and see what we're working with.
Okay, check this out. The system has this whole set of operations. We've got concatenation, which we just saw, but it also uses stuff we're super familiar with, like basic multiplication, and then it throws in these more abstract ideas, like finding a middle value between two numbers. It's a real mixed bag.
But wait, it gets even more specific than that. As if that wasn't enough, on top of all these general rules, the system actually has its own custom functions, and they're all built around two specific numbers, 13 and 31.
So these special functions, they use 13 and 31 to do very specific things. It's like having a special key for a special lock. So by following these custom rules, the system can spit out very specific numbers, like 26 or 44. It's all part of the design.
Okay, so let's take the number 26 from our original equation. Within this system's rules, there's a perfectly logical way to get there. You just use one of those special functions. You take the number 2, you multiply it by 13, and bam, you get 26. Simple enough, right?
Okay, hold on, because this is where everything takes a really sharp turn. There is another way, a much, much more surprising way that this system comes up with that exact same number, 26. And this is what we call the conceptual leap.
This is the moment where the logic of this whole system just explodes. I mean, what if the rules weren't just about math? What if they allowed you to pull in information from somewhere else entirely? What if a number isn't something you calculate, but something you just find?
And this quote from the source material is the absolute key to the whole thing. The number 26, the one in our equation, 88 plus 26, it's not calculated, it's found. It's directly linked to the number of verses in a specific chapter or surah of the Quran. The number 88 tells you to look at Surah 88, and it just so happens that Surah 88 has, you guessed it, 26 verses.
Honestly, this is the most important part of this whole explainer. This system isn't just math. It's a hybrid. It's blending mathematical rules with information from a completely different place. In this case, the actual structure of a religious text. It's incredible.
And just so you know, this isn't some one-off trick. The source material makes it clear this is a consistent rule baked into the system. For example, it uses Surah 70 to get the number 44. Surah 39 is used to get 75. And it keeps going. It's a pattern.
So, what do you even call a system that works like this? I mean, is it math? Is it some kind of a code or a cipher? Or is it something else completely?
What we know is that it follows a very clear process, right? Step by step. It takes numbers and it transforms them using this really specific mix of tools. You got some basic math, some unique operations, and then this wild card,
this interpretive step, all to get to one final precise answer.
And this really shows you the fundamental difference between this and, say, normal math. Standard mathematics, it works on these universal, self-contained rules that apply everywhere. But this is more like a creative numerical system. Its rules only make sense inside its own little universe, and it has no problem mixing pure logic with outside information.
So you might be asking, okay, why does any of this matter? And look, the point isn't about whether this is correct math. That's not the goal. The real takeaway here is that it's this absolutely fascinating example of how humans create patterns. It's a system built on rules that brilliantly blends calculation with concept.
And that kind of leaves us with one last big idea to chew on. When you have a system, a pattern, that starts to blend pure cold logic with this kind of creative, almost poetic interpretation from the outside world, well, it makes you wonder, where exactly does mathematics end and art begin?